Just the facts, ma'am.
Hey y'all, this video is all about pepperoncini peppers and why you may want to be growing some. It is also going to cover how to harvest them and how to pickle them, which is super easy. Everyone has had pepperoncinis, but most people don't know what they are. They're sold in every grocery store. Most of the time you get them in a vinegar brine solution, and they're real common with sandwiches or pizza. They're also in Greek salad, antipasto, a bunch of Italian dishes. And they're just great little peppers. I'm a novice gardener. This is the second time in my life I've ever grown any kind of pepper. And I've got 6 plants growing, and they are just so incredibly prolific. You want to harvest these when they are green. When they start to ripen, they're going to turn kind of an ugly brownish red color, which is great if you're trying to save seeds, but not for eating. They do lose some of their flavor. For pickling, I try to harvest them when they're about 1.5 inches to 2 inches long. Some are always going to be bigger because they grow so fast, and if they're too big, I set those aside and use them either fresh in pizza or stir fry, or I dehydrate them. Now, as soon as you pick them and you're ready to start putting them in cans, you want to start your brine solution. This is for refrigerator pickling. This is not for water bath canning, the solution I'm going to give you. What I use, and what is very similar to the taste that you're going to get if you bought them in the store, is simply half vinegar, half water, and some salt. If you look online for brine recipes for peppers, a lot of them contain sugar. Be warned, if you put sugar in that brine, it is not going to taste anything like store-bought. Now, if you want to water bath can these, then look up the ball canning recipe so you make sure you've got enough acid in the form of vinegar and ascorbic acid so they don't turn. And you also want to make sure you use pickle crisp or calcium chloride generic, because when they're water bath canned, they do get mushy if you don't put something in there to keep the crispness. As the brine solution heats up on the stove, I'm going to start piercing peppers. I use a knife and pierce them at each end so the air will come out and the brine solution will get in. And any larger ones I'm setting to the side to use fresh or dehydrate later. Once they've all been pierced, I start packing them in the jar, and you really want to pack them in there tight. As soon as the hot brine goes over them, the peppers are going to soften up, and there's going to be more room in the jar than you expected. In fact, if you don't pack them in tight, you're probably going to end up with a jar that's half empty brine solution on the bottom and a bunch of little peppers floating on the top. Once the jar is packed, we're going to pour the hot brine solution on it. And as soon as you do, you're going to see a lot of little air bubbles coming up. And I've learned that it's a good idea to use something to press more of the air out of the peppers, because the air does not come out. They end up floating later. At this point, I might also add a couple more peppers to it to pack that jar full if they're shrinking down a little bit. And then I'll top it off with the last of the brine. After that, I just put the lid on. Mark the date, because you're going to let this cool for, I usually just leave them out overnight so they're completely cool. Then I put them in the fridge. And after about, I don't know, 10, 14 days, they're perfect. They have the texture of what you would buy in the store. It might be a little sooner, but if you eat them too soon, they're going to be really crispy, and they're not going to be at all like the purchase type. This is what the peppers look like after about a week in the fridge. You can see the jar on the left is noticeably lighter. My jars do seal. I always hear them ping when the brine solution cools, and they last in the fridge for a really long time. I will say, if you're interested in growing pepperoncinis, it can be a little tricky to find seeds. Most major seed catalogs do not carry them. I actually purchased my seeds off eBay, and I got the Golden Greek variety. I think Eden Brothers also sells pepperoncini seeds. And if you want them, you can definitely find some. If you found this video interesting, please do take a sec and hit the like button, as I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and stay safe.